right here in front of the studio. The water's been coming down the driveway and the patio, and a little bit's been getting underneath the sill plate and just going inside and kind of puddling a little bit on the inside of the studio. So I'm going to cut and chisel a shallow concrete channel drain with slope coming down this way, so the rainwater will be diverted on around the problem area. So we'll simulate a little bit like a bad downpour. Look at that, you can see water's coming through. But that channel, a nice channel grate, will help out tremendously to hold that water at bay so it doesn't come inside underneath the sill plate. I'm using a Porter cable electric circular saw, and it's got a concrete blade on it. So I'm setting the depth of my circular saw to 1 1/4 inch deep. Here I'm using a thin layer of plywood, just to keep any of the debris from hitting the glass. I'm using water to keep all of the dust from the cutting blade to a minimum. I'm going to speed up the process here. This project took me about an hour total to cut and chisel the entire channel. So expect your project to take you at least an hour, maybe 2, kind of depends on the length of the channel that you're going to be cutting. Alright, we made our initial cut right along the wall, just had our plywood up against it. Now we're going to make the channel 3 1/4 inches wide. So it's going to be right out here, 3 1/4 inches wide and 1 1/4 inches deep. It's good to get both sides of the channel first, and then we're going to put one more line down the middle of the channel so that we can just chisel it out. Alright, I think you can see I've made the inside of the channel drain and the outside of the channel drain. I'm just going to cut one more right down the middle so that I can chisel that out. In my third line, I'm just going to turn that 2x4 over on its side. I'm going to cut along that, and that'll give us a third line to help chisel it out. Alright, you can see I've made 3 lines in there. That makes it, and its total width of the channel, total width, is 3 1/4 inches. Now I can just chisel that out. A pry bar will work nicely to break up and remove the asphalt, if you're working in asphalt. If you're working in concrete, you're going to need to get a chipper. Alright, let's clean up that work from the pry bar. You can see it made it a nice inside of the asphalt here, real nice 1 1/4 inch channel. A little tougher when it gets up here into the concrete. So I'm going to use the Bosch hammer drill. It's got a 2-inch chisel on it, and it has both just hammer and then drill and hammer for doing hole saw work or concrete hole sawing. But you can get something, you know, just a hammer drill from most any hardware store. This is what I got, so this is what I use. Remember, you've already cut down 1 1/4 inches. When you're using a chipper, you don't need to put a lot of pressure on it, and you actually want to cut in, then shave off the pieces of concrete you want to remove. I'm going to speed up the video process here again and narrate the steps as we go through them. The Bosch hammer drill that I'm using is rather large and cumbersome. You can rent them at Home Depot, but I recommend you just buy a small chipper. I'm sure that you will find many uses for a chipper if you do make a purchase, especially for any DIYer. Clean up the work area often. You don't want to go down too deep with that chisel, and if you can't see what you're doing, well, odds are you're going to go too deep. That's a couple passes through with the chisel. It's just about down there, the 1 1/4 inch. Still got a little bit of a groove. Go ahead and finish the top layers and get back to it. Be sure to wear safety glasses when you're using that hammer drill. I use ear protection as well. That chipper hammer is loud. Again, I want to get that top layer off of there. Remove the rubble so I can see what's going on. I don't want to go too deep with my chisel. Continue shaving the concrete from the channel until you get to the desired level. In this case, 1 1/4 inches. That's looking pretty close to being done. I think one more pass through there ought to do it. Oh yeah, that's looking great. Takes a little bit of effort, but just to basically guide the machine, you know, the chisel through your 3.5 inch width area. Now I've got a 2-inch chisel on there, so I was able to run it along one side and then the other until I got down to where the original saw cut is. So that's right at 1 1/4 inches. I may smooth that out just a little bit, but I can't wait to clean it up and see how it works. I don't have it totally cleaned up yet, and you could probably use a little bit of dirt removal right there in the front foliage, but it isn't overflowing in there, and that would be a super heavy rain right there. And I don't even have it cleaned out yet, but it's taking all the water. No overflow from that at all. I got it really coming out. I turned it on full blast, of course, but no water is penetrating and going into the studio. Yeah, the water or the leftover water you're seeing is from when I originally started, and just show you what was going on. There's no new water down there. That's working great. So 1.25 inches. You could go a little deeper. Some slabs are 4 inches thick, some are 3, some are a little less. So I was on the safe side and just went 1.25 inches with my concrete saw and then chiseled it out. I'm Chris with Atlantic Drain, reminding you it's easy once you know how.